Hey guys, Saka from SAKITECH, and in today's video we are going to be talking about the decision that I've made to switch from the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra to the iPhone 14 Pro Max that I have right here. Alright, now before you come for my neck, I do want to let you know I'm going to do this for 2 weeks to a month. At the end of that period, I'm going to make the decision to either stay with the iPhone or go back to the Samsung, and there's going to be a video update to tell you guys why I made the decision I'm going to make, which might help you get an insight into these products. So first thing I do want to quickly mention is I actually switched from the Samsung Galaxy Fold 4 to the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra just recently for one single reason. Sometimes one single reason makes you switch from one phone to the other. And that reason, the reason I switched from the Fold 4 to the Galaxy S22 Ultra was simply because the weather was nice and I like to ride motorcycles. And unfortunately, most motorcycle mounts that are good favor the standard form factor as opposed to the foldable form factor. The mount on a motorcycle is much better holding on to a standard form factor phone than a Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4, which is slightly thicker and heavier. So even though I'm switching to the iPhone now, if I end up switching back to a Samsung phone, I might actually go back to the Fold 4 because now the nice weather is over and I'm not going to be riding motorbikes until next summer. But I do digress. Let's go back to the main title of the video. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to be switching to the iPhone 14 Pro Max. I want to do it for 2 weeks or a month, and at the end decide whether I'm going to stick with it or am I going to go back to the Samsung phones. Now, as a standalone phone, I like the Samsung better. I think the design is much more gorgeous. Again, in my opinion, that's front and back. It's got that professional looking square design that has been my favorite for a long time. But there's 2 reasons I have finally decided to switch and completely try the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Number 1 reason is it finally has gotten rid of that hideous notch. I simply couldn't stand the notch. Every time I looked at it, for a phone that pricey, it just looked out of place. Now we have a cutout, which is still large, but certainly much more tolerable than a hideous notch. So that qualified for me to try it out. And also, one more reason I want to switch to the iPhone 14 Pro Max is because I want to actually submerge myself into the ecosystem of Apple. So you guys see, as I make videos, I already have a MacBook. I love my MacBooks. And as far as tablets are concerned, I use iPads and Samsung tablets, but mostly iPads. And that's why I get to laugh sometimes when people say, SAKITECH hates Apple, even though in every video I record, the MacBook is sitting right here. But anyway, I went out there and I also purchased an Apple Watch Ultra. I already have the iPhone, already got the MacBook and the iPad, so I'm going to submerge myself into the ecosystem. And apparently there are so many benefits to it. I want to see exactly how many of those benefits I am going to be using in my life. And I don't want to just do it as a tech reviewer because I've done that in the past. I'm going to do it as an end user. So I might have to force my wife to get an iPhone as well, but she hates them. So probably she's going to keep her Samsung Flip 4. But anyway, the ecosystem and the lack of the notch, I can finally try to move on to the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now, sometimes I play some games on my phones and sometimes I watch videos. I do prefer the smaller hole cutout on the Samsung phone as opposed to the bigger cutout on the iPhone when I'm watching a video full screen or playing a game which always plays full screen. So with the iPhone, the larger cutout is going to get in the way, but like I said, it's not as bad as the notch, even though ultimately I would prefer to have the smaller hole cutout on the Samsung, which just feels more immersive. It's like having a high definition TV with a small cutout versus a large cutout. So that does make a difference, but those things I'm willing to swallow, like I said, to get the ecosystem experience of the iPhone and the Mac and the Apple Watch. And of course, initially, it feels great. Initially, it feels great. It is expensive though. A watch, a laptop, the phone, a tablet. We're looking at $4,000, $5,000 already. It is expensive, but I want to see if it's going to be useful to me long term. And by long term, I mean 2 weeks to a month, which for someone like me is long term because I really use these things a lot. Now, there's a couple things I'm going to need that I'm going to miss, but I'm willing to live without that. So one thing I'm going to probably miss is the multitasking, the split screen multitasking on the S22 Ultra, which allows me to use 2 apps at the same time. And based on my lifestyle, I use that a lot. I just like that form factor to do work, to have a calculator and a web page when I'm doing calculations and researching and stuff like that. Now on the iPhone, I noticed that it now supports the YouTube in PIP format. That's picture in picture. So if I'm watching a YouTube video, I can now exit that. The video will continue to play on a small screen on the iPhone that I can move around and I can quickly do something else. So that's a very minor multitasking, but it's there. So I like that, the fact that that's there. And one more thing that I've noticed as I've been using the Samsung Galaxy S22 and the iPhone is, as far as the camera is concerned, as far as the photos are concerned, I like the Samsung better when it comes to taking everyday photos, and even using zooming capabilities on the S22 Ultra is better. But on the iPhone, I've noticed that the video is much more smoother. So for example, if I'm recording a video and I switch between the ultra wide, wide, and the zoom camera, the transition, there's virtually no lag. So that's something that is attractive to me as somebody whose business is to be a creator, a YouTuber. So I'm going to try to integrate that into my workflow as well. So many times I record B-roll on my phones for my videos. Now it looks like I can do it on the iPhone, and because of the ecosystem, I can just airdrop that right from the phone to the Mac and quickly edit it on the go. So that's one thing I'm going to look at. I'm going to see how much more it improves my workflow as opposed to using a Samsung phone and using OneDrive or Google Drive to transfer stuff back and forth. So that's just a quick video to update you guys that I'm switching to the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Obviously, I'm going to continue to produce Samsung content. This is a Samsung focused channel, but day to day, I'll be using the iPhone for personal and business use. And of course, at the end of my run, 2 weeks or a month, I'm going to make an update video to let you guys know if I was sold on the ecosystem, if it's worth it, if all the benefits are worth it, or am I going to go back to the way it was where my primary phone is a Samsung and then my laptop is a Mac, my computer back there is a Windows, and the watch. Am I going to keep the watch? Okay, so we'll see about that as well. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop them down below. Let me know. For now, guys, have a fantastic day.